not sure that Bobby Evans has anything else to prove. He's played right tackle, he's played left tackle in the last 2 years, and he's been on the best offensive line in football. Go get your money, son.
R.J. Young, our man, from his video last night. Look, Marquise Brown goes. We expected that. Cody Ford goes, and that was kind of expected. I do agree that, talking about the third guy, Allen. You thought, look, to me, RJ, it seems like he was the one who I think had the best case to go. It sounds like you agree with that, and although now there's conversation that maybe he's leaning towards staying.
Well, I mean, what do you have left to prove if you're Bobby Evans, man? I mean, at this point, honestly, maybe you want to try to get the team back to a college football playoff and win one, but you blocked for 2 Heisman-winning quarterbacks. You played on both sides of the line. You won the Joe Moore Award. Unless you think you got an outside shot at winning an individual award, I don't see how this raises your stock at all. Now, also, there is the argument for staying in college as long as you can stay in college, especially if somebody else is picking up the tab. But if you got millions of dollars laying in front of you, I'm going to go snatch it.
Yeah, I think from that standpoint, as far as giving evaluators, giving the NFL scouts, everybody, GMs, tape, he's played against some pretty good teams. And if he felt coming out of that Bama game, I thought he played up pretty good. Obviously you don't get a win. You don't go rush for a ton of yards or anything like that. But for the most part, I think the tape's pretty good because they're not going to care what he did against Kansas. They give me the Alabama film, give me the Georgia film from last year, and I think he's in that situation. I'm okay with that. See, I'm okay with guys that are going to get a second or a late first round grade or a mid to late second round grade because that's right. And to me, RJ, the way this offensive line is going to move forward, this is going to be Creed's offensive line.
Unless Bobby returns. Unless Bobby returns. Bill's shown even by starting out not with Creed Humphrey. Remember, it was Alvarez who he went with, that he is partial to his older guys and experience. Now, I understand the need for a guy like Creed to assume a leadership role, but he'll be a redshirt sophomore, and that's not necessarily the kind of guy for which you're going, this is absolutely my guy. It's not like Gabe Eichert is there at center. But
no, he's better than Gabe Eichert.
Well, he's a better football player, but is he a better leader? We don't know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was going with Gabe Eichert when I was talking about being the guy. Now, Bobby Evans, if he returns he started something like 50 games now. It's ridiculous. So no, I unless he wants to cede control to Creed, I don't see that being a thing. But I also know that it would be Creed who would be the offensive line talent, and usually you follow the talent. That's the way that football works.
Yeah, and a lot of times in that room, you got to follow the center because he does so many different things. But that room is not of any concern to me. If they're reloading guys, if they got to do different things, what Bill Bedenbaugh has done, it has been phenomenal. That wouldn't be any of a concern to me. I wanted to ask you this, buddy, because we haven't talked since last Thursday. Watching Texas, okay, and I got a chance to talk to a couple of OU guys that played during the heyday yesterday, and they were very disappointed in the amount of what they called dog in the front seven. They were very disappointed in guys like Robert Barnes. Now, granted, he got absolutely annihilated. I thought he was dead. And from the standpoint, the comment was made to me was, Tony Jefferson played for us for 5 years ago. It's not like this was a decade ago. We had safeties that were freaking dogs, and we had front seven guys that were dogs. And when they see Texas go up against Georgia's a poor man's Bama. They're not quite at that level, but they still play that brand. And Texas manhandled them. Front seven, they got dudes in the backfield making plays. They got linebackers that come flying downhill. And another comment was made to me, why is Kenneth Murray running away from tackles? And I don't know if that's to me, it can be a DNA thing. Does a new DC come in and just, hey, you're going to play for me, but you're going to bang your head against the wall. We're going to be some freaking dogs. Or because OU's got the talent. They got guys that talent-wise, on paper, coming out of high school, can match up with Texas guys, no problem. Texas just plays a different style.
Look here, man. Tell your old buddies, tell your heyday guys to pipe down, all right? One, nobody on that football team is out there going, I don't want to hit anybody. And nobody on that football team is not giving maximum effort. If that's your kid, and you got people telling you that your kid didn't get all the way to Oklahoma and lost the fight in him, you're going to go fight them. Now, I think that's offsides, and I think that's wrong, because there was a time when those dudes got their heads pounded in too. And if you're talking about Texas versus Georgia, we all knew that Texas' defense was good, and a lot of that has to do with scheme. All right? Yeah, they got some pressure. They made some tackles. But Kenneth Murray Jr. also led the team in tackles with 15 against Alabama. So I don't know about this running away from tackles. And the part about Robert Barnes getting annihilated, dude came up holding his hamstring. Yeah, it's a bad look for him, and he didn't come back into the game. But you had a puppy secondary. You had a true freshman in Pat Fields out there. You had a true freshman in Buki Brendan Radley-Hiles out there. You moved Trey Norwood to safety. You had a lot of moving pieces here. So I think this whole older generation talking about where the dog's at and talking about Tony Jefferson 5 years ago can get on board or leave.
Okay,
Like, enough of this. Why are we pounding on the kids after they took a bad loss, knowing that they got there in the first place?
Listen, RJ, this isn't an anomaly that OU got their asses ran on defense. They gave up 9 yards of play. Got their asses ran. Robert Barnes
against Alabama. Against Alabama. Against the second best offense in all of college football. Against an offense that puts together 47 points a game. Against the guy that you would have picked to have the Heisman Trophy, right? Against three running backs that we all know could play in the NFL tomorrow. Look, this is not necessarily that that the defense is just awful. It's also that Alabama's really good. Alabama's giving everybody problems.
I understand that, RJ. If you want to, I'm not saying it's a referendum on OU's defense against Alabama. It's a referendum on OU's defense in general that you've been a massive critic of. Robert Barnes is not going to be a Pro Bowler on the best defense in the league like Tony Jefferson. He's just not.
Okay, where did Tony Jefferson get drafted?
I think he was a first-round pick.
Yeah. No, he was undrafted. That's my point. You don't really know.
I might be thinking of the wrong guy.
Tony Jefferson left OU early, went undrafted?
Go ahead and look that one up, man.
Okay, I'm just saying, brother, when you say Kenneth Murray led the team in tackles, he had a ton of them. I get it. How many tackles for losses did Kenneth Murray have?
That's kind of scheme, right? That's what we're really talking about. We're talking about coordinators and play calls. We're talking about the scheme that they play in, and the scheme that he plays in is chase and tackle. All right? The guy that you want to bring in is going to go to a one-gap scheme. I got to believe that because we already know that it's hard to recruit defensive line. Have you ever seen a two-gap kid in college?
Let me ask you something, RJ. Does Texas have better defensive linemen than Oklahoma?
Well, you would make that argument when you saw Charles Omenihu go after Jake Fromm in that offensive line. I think that they have a better scheme. I think they got a better system.
So you're conceding that OU hasn't recruited front seven guys like Texas has?
I'm conceding that the development of those front seven guys has been better at Texas.
In the way they play, in the way they develop, in the way they tackle, the way they pursue, the way they run their defense.
In the way that Todd Orlando says we run a dime package with a three-man front, and this is who we are.
I understand what you're saying, but when you tell guys who played in the most historic defenses in the history of Oklahoma to pipe down, and they just look at it from an effort standpoint, they look at it from a toughness standpoint, I'm going to listen to them when they say,
oh, I'm going to listen, but I'm not necessarily going to agree. I mean, I argue with you, and you're an All-American. What's your point?
Well, I'm just saying, bro, we get into these situations and these conversations.
Right.
When you watch what happens, the first thing I see in the Texas just dismantling of Georgia, and there's a lot of NFL dudes on both sides of the ball on this Georgia team, and when they just absolutely dismantle them.
Hey, Austin. Hey, Austin.
Georgia can't run the football.
Austin.
They have
Austin.
2.8 yards to carry.
How many points did Texas give up to Georgia in that game?
21.
21?
Yeah.
Okay.
28-21?
Okay, is it 28 or 21?
No, the score was 28-21.
Right. So how many points did Oklahoma give up to Texas in the Big 12 title game? 27.
Like 28 or 20. I think it was 27.
Right. That's so like if you're really gonna get after effort and you're gonna get after how you're holding people down or not holding people down. Look, man, You got the win against Texas on a neutral site. Texas got the win against Georgia on a neutral site. We could talk about how good or bad they were. We could talk about how much mouthing off Georgia did and then wanted to say that they didn't really care about the game. But the fact of the matter is, one team made the college football playoff with what we know is a bad defense, and the defense is going to get better. That's the thing that I really wanted to press here was, with the defense that you had, you were still really good. Right. What if the defense gets just a little bit better? And where do we get when we're talking about effort by the kids? Where do we get from that? I'm arguing with you because positivity matters,
no,
right? Not because do you think they know they didn't get their butts handed to them?
No, this isn't an indictment on the kids, okay? When I talk effort and attitude and DNA and being tough, your toughness, your tackling, everything your defense brings to the table, that is instilled in the coaching and development. That it almost has nothing to do with the athlete. Okay, you don't recruit guys that are tough guys. You recruit guys to your system that you're going to turn into tough dudes, and it's all part of your makeup and your mantra of who you are. And my whole point was that OU has played a big boy SEC team the last 2 years, and defensively they've just gotten run roughshod. Texas hooks up with one of them and makes them like it, and it's because, and this isn't anything different on Texas. They've been the best run-stopping front seven in the conference the last couple of years.
So we're going to throw out the Auburn win, we're going to throw out the Tennessee wins. We're going to do that too? Because that's Mike Stoops' defense too. Tony Jefferson's Mike Stoops, so is Robert Barnes, so is Kenneth Murray Jr. I mean, look. I mean, you picked up in the middle of the season with a new coordinator. You tried to run some new stuff. It looked good at the start. Then it got picked apart. So what I'm saying is it's a wash. You know, let's talk about effort and what is instilled with the new guy, as opposed to continuing to rehash where the effort was against Alabama.
I think that goes to my point.
Okay.
Whoever comes in new, if you see guys fall out, if you see some guys end up transferring or whatever, to me that's a good sign. Because I want to see a defensive coordinator, no matter who it is, to come in there and say,
I don't know, man. I don't ever think that seeing kids transfer en masse is a good sign.
Well, if you've got to turn over certain position groups, if you got to get guys that are going to buy into your system and play a certain way that you want them to play,
then you're going to get worse a whole lot quicker.
I don't think any defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator, for that matter, that instills a system and tries to be successful, there's always going to be turnover.
Sure. Yeah.
To get better, to try to get. I mean, that's the way it always is, RJ. So from that standpoint, I agree with you in the sense that whoever the defensive coordinator is going to be, like, whatever scheme it's going to be, because apparently it's all scheme.
Look, there might be some new guys, but it's not. This isn't the NFL. You can't bring in 7 new starters. I mean, you got to kind of work with what you got.
Yes, but I've been a part of 2 coaching changes. I know how it goes. And when you open up competition and you literally, as a defensive coordinator, say,
sure,
you better be a tackling SOB, a pursuing SOB, and a hitting SOB, or you're not playing for me. Sometimes guys that started and got comfortable starting and missing a lot of tackles, those guys don't see the field, and it might be a good thing.
Hey, Austin, just to that point, have you ever seen a defensive coordinator who didn't say that you're going to do all those things or you're not going to play?
No.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, but a defensive coordinator that's going to tell me that and then have an awful defense, the proof's in the pudding there.
Right. And that's why I think whoever gets hired is also going to be on a short leash. Because you got to see something. You got to either have the kids love you, right, or you got to see results. But if you don't get one or the other, I don't necessarily think you're going to be able to put up with this for very long.
Hey, good stuff, man. We got to run. We're over time. We'll chat on Tuesday, though.
All right, fellas. I appreciate you.
Excellent. Thanks, RJ. RJ Young, OU Insider.